Venus squaring Saturn, even though both planets are dignified, that can still feel horrible. So take care of yourselves. And if you can't forgive yourself, then no healing can begin. If Venus is women, Venus and the moon can signify feminine archetypes. Venus squaring Saturn in Aquarius, the institutions. That seems very appropriate for some recent harrowing legislation. The dark moon in Cancer is June 28th. Robin Wall Kimmerer, who wrote the book Braiding Sweetgrass, says, all flourishing is mutual. And it follows that this would also apply to dearths and deprivations. We are all connected. How do we take care of ourselves so that we can give to others? This is like from the third video in my course, How to Read Your Own Chart, which is available by subscribing to my newsletter. In the third video, I say things mean what they mean in astrology because of what they are. So the sun is what it is in the sky. It's a big ball of fire. What you see is what you get with the sun. It projects an image of itself, and it's pretty straightforward. I mean, the sun has mysteries, of course, but the moon is a rock covered in reflective sand that reflects the light of the sun, so it embodies the sun's light. It's a vehicle for the sun's light. The sign of Cancer pertains to nurturing what we give a body to, whether that's a relationship or a work of art or a physical body. It also pertains to relationships and emotional bonds necessary for nurturing a body, whether that's a physical body or some sort of creative work or home. And then I like to work with dark moons and full moons in 6-month cycles. So the full moon in Cancer in January, this past January of 2022, those energies have now wound down and you can start again for it to reach a peak during the full moon in Cancer, Capricorn season of 2022-2023. So 6-month cycles with dark moons and full moons. I mean, dark moons and full moons also, you can work with the lunar cycle. So whatever you intend to build or nurture during this dark moon can also reach a mini culmination during the next full moon. But we take care of ourselves so we can give to others. So be sure to secure your own mask before assisting others. When I'm talking about aspects in these videos, this is when they go exact. So anytime before that, they're applying and the situation is culminating until the exact aspect. And then they are separating. The situation is resolving. So in June 28th, Venus sextile Jupiter goes exact. This made me think of air and fire. It's Venus in Gemini, sextile Jupiter in Aries. So Mercury ruled Venus, having an opportunity to connect with Mars ruled Jupiter. So whatever crusade Mars ruled Jupiter is entrenched in, Mercury ruled Venus. Pleasantries, artistic connections, have an opportunity to somehow connect with. Whatever tough love your sense of faith and optimism has been undergoing since early May. This could be a chatty and invigorating moment, or an opportunity for one. The triumphant turmoil that Jupiter is undergoing can somehow be of benefit. Whatever chatty, warm receptions Venus is conducting during its transit of Gemini, I think of fire stuff with air, like blowtorch. I think of blowtorch stuff when I get air and fire signs, especially with Aries. But with this, it's like, it's a sextile, it's cute. Maybe Venus uses a little of Jupiter's fire to run a mini kitchen blowtorch across a creme brulee that is shared. Or the pleasures and curiosities that Venus is hosting in Gemini. Maybe those take up the banner of whatever crusade Jupiter is entrenched in. Whatever, like, hopeful, triumphant blaze of glory Jupiter is going through in Aries. So whatever part of your chart Aries coincides with might receive some help from intellectual stimulation, charm, pleasantries, games, or maybe some interpersonal drama comes in. There's an opportunity for that. A sextile is a easy flowing aspect, but it doesn't always have to be good. So there's always a chance that like some sort of drama can interfere with what Jupiter is doing. But for the most part, it's benefics connecting in a cute way. So it could be beneficial to the murderous, tough love that Jupiter is currently undergoing. This is a nice aspect to be happening during the dark moon. Maybe you can get a sense of hope that can carry you through the next lunation. On July 1st, Mars squares Pluto. This is a less fun aspect. I just think subterranean levels of frustration. So perhaps being blocked and you don't even know how, or by someone in a position of power. Maybe you're being blocked by someone you don't know is in a position of power, or someone, or maybe you're blocked by a large power structure. Things are somehow frustrated. I mean, it's also an opportunity to get a tremendous amount of work done. It's a square with Pluto. You could turn that into a productive grind, potentially. Just don't hurt yourself. It's that kind of like pushing you hard, especially with Jupiter involved. Jupiter works for Mars, so if you work with this aspect intentionally, especially leading up to July 1st, you could potentially get a lot done, a tremendous amount of work done. After, having a little rest during the dark moon, then just hitting the ground running, and that being like setting the tone for what can grow over the next lunation or over the next 6 months. And this is Pluto at the end of Capricorn, like Pluto in the throne room, corrupt, lord of the underworld, ruling everything, squaring Mars in the third face of Aries. Mars in the third face of Aries seems very nasty. The contentiousness of Mars at the end of Aries squaring Pluto at the end of Capricorn seems like things could get ugly. So if you have something productive to point that to, look at the parts of your chart that coincide with the sign of Capricorn and the sign of Aries. Find a way to work. What hard work do you need to do to reconcile those two parts of your life? What not fun stuff can you do? On July 2nd, Mercury squares Neptune. This is kind of a rough week. If you haven't already had a rough week. So Mercury squaring Neptune. It's a rough time for our intellect, for decision making. If you need to do something that requires attention to detail or clear, rational decision making, or connecting thoughts, details, and ideas. if you are putting together some IKEA furniture or manually debugging some code, this is not a time for that. If you can avoid doing stuff like that during this time, it's probably a good idea. Our intellect, our engagement with skill, our wayfinding, those things are experiencing a difficult, conflicting, like my way or the highway connection with our sense of reality, what's real and what's not, and our sense of acceptance of whether things are real or not, like all of reality being an illusion, but also all of reality being real and us having to conduct ourselves through a concrete reality. I'm confused even trying to explain it. And Neptune recently stationed retrograde, so Neptune themes could still be somewhat intense. The fabric of reality, the illusory quality of absolutely everything, which in some ways can result in magic and in some ways can result in treachery you didn't know that you were conducting. Those things blend together, and our intellect and engagement with skill have a problem navigating this during this time in particular, which is July 2nd. Mercury has technically been squaring Neptune by sign since July 13th. So all of this applies beginning at that time. Like all of this began to ramp up around July 13th. So confusion and lack of clarity. It's like the fog machine is cranked up, interfering with our ability to drive ourselves through life. So take care and observe and avoid fast decisions if possible, if you haven't already been faced with a situation such as that. So if you can, just allow the time to pass and watch the visuals change. If it is too late, what else can you observe? Mercury in Gemini prefers clarity, is a maker of clarity, but as the late Mitch Hedberg said of Bigfoot, Bigfoot is naturally blurry. Mars enters Taurus. This is very interesting because the last time Mars entered Taurus, there was some very obvious conflict going on there. And this ingress occurs on a date which is significant, very significant, to the type of conflict that occurred on January 6th. So Mars connects with our warrior spirit and our approach to offense and defense. Mars is our drive to make decisions. The word decide comes from a root that means to cut. Decide means to cut off. Mars wants to change the terms and conditions. Mars does not like things as they are. Mars sets out to change the situation. Or Mars sets out to defend against others trying to change the situation. Mars either wants to change things or uphold the existing paradigm. So these types of functions, offense and defense, drive to like do the work, to finish the work, to decide, they function less optimally when Mars transits the sign of Taurus. So when Mars is in detriment, as it is in Taurus, Mars is our use of force, whether that's for offense or defense. And in Taurus, use of force is somehow not appropriate, as we can see by the example I gave. Or it's frustrated somehow. Mars wants to go fast and get the shit done, but Taurus is a slow sign. So Mars and Taurus, frustration is definitely a thing. Wanting to go fast, but needing to be slow and methodical, or wanting to be slow and methodical, but other people need you to go fast. Like it's required that you go fast, even if you want to go slow and steady. Mars in Taurus always makes me think of migraines. Like you want to do stuff, carry on with your life, but you can't because you're like in pain because something's going on with your body. Mars will be in Taurus until August 20th when it transits into Gemini. And then Mars will be in Gemini for the rest of the year. So this will be the last taste of Mars, even though it's Mars in detriment. Mars in a sign other than Gemini for several months. Mars also conjoins Uranus in the North Node later on during its transit of Taurus. So that seems very bombastic. Something snaps, which leads us into 6 months of Mars in Gemini. Definitely things surrounding communication, cyber lockdowns or digital IDs, more like cybersecurity stuff, communication wars, arguments. Anyway, Mercury in the water signs is considered mute, so this might be show, don't tell, or we're navigating by feel, learning to use our intuition, which is sometimes can be difficult if you're out of practice. But also with Mercury in Cancer, that can be an opportunity to digest everything that happened, was learned, was done, was made, whilst Mercury transited Gemini. What happened during that time? Now there's more of an opportunity to digest that stuff. Mercury is quick and changes things and adds new information and adds new analysis, and especially decisions that were made at the end of Gemini. Everything can be digested during this time. Mercury in Cancer is Mercury ruled by the moon, so speaking to our emotional attunement. Mercury taking care, listening, being there to assist with whatever the moon wants. As a caretaker, how can communication, wayfinding, travel pertain to caretaking? Is that taking kids to soccer or being there for someone just to talk to them? And it's a very swift tour. Mercury will leave the sign of Cancer on July 19th. An immediate sextile of Mercury to Mars. It's Mercury working for the moon, connecting to Mars working for Venus. So this like maybe calm, listening, more nonverbal Mercury connecting with very frustrated Mars. The first thing I think of with this is analysis paralysis. Or Mercury might swoop in to help slow down Mars, and there's an opportunity to use our capacity for figuring in a way that's connected to our emotions, to swoop in and maybe tell our offense defense that it's going to be okay. It's okay to go slow. It's okay to not get the thing done so quickly. Also, there's Mercury connecting to Mars. That's shit talking. And Mars is in Taurus, so it could be maybe pretty shitty shit talking. There's also an opportunity to strategize again, or maybe there's an argument. Mars is in fall in Cancer, so Mars in Taurus connecting to Mercury. It could be there could be a pretty terrible argument. There's an opportunity here for like people getting hurt, people being very frustrated, and people getting hurt. So with Mercury in the superior position, and Mercury technically functioning a little better than Mars, the bringing to our intellect and our communication a sense of nurturing or a motherly quality, wiping the sweat from Mars's brow. Mercury being there to wipe the sweat from Mars's brow, maybe. This could also be bad news. Mercury connecting to Mars. In this way, it's a sextile, so it, again, sextiles are an opportunity for something positive, especially if you work with it intentionally. So this aspect happened, this minor aspect happened on April 8th when Mercury was in Aries and Mars was in Aquarius. And on May 23rd, Mercury in Taurus, at the end of Taurus, connected with Mars at the end of Pisces. So there was like kind of a subterfuge and like a deep scenario planning, secret scenario planning situation. And now it's Mercury in Cancer connecting with Mars in Taurus. So how did your planning work out? Maybe it didn't go well. Because now they're like reconnecting and they're not necessarily all that. Mars is definitely not dignified. There's an opportunity for communication to make things better if it comes from a place that speaks to our needs, whether that's emotional or bodily. And Mercury is also coming off that square with Neptune, so there might still be some confusion. So, maybe Mars just needs someone to listen, where it's like nonverbal communication, listening, nurturing. Next, the first quarter moon is on July 6th. Mercury squares Jupiter, Venus trines Saturn, which ought to be better than that nasty square